The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network. We're always around the corner from everywhere. Morning Espresso brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. Good morning. It's March 2nd. This is a new week for Morning Espresso. We've got some urgency here in Atlanta now that it is home opener week. We've got a strong start in the SheBelieves Cup for the U.S. Women's National Team. Lionel Messi doing what Lionel Messi does, this time in Orlando. Youth movements across Major League Soccer and a global sports landscape that is continuing to shift in real time. Let's get into it. Let's start from San Jose. We're back in Atlanta now, and thankfully, after a very poor performance from Atlanta United in San Jose, a 2-0 loss to the Earthquakes. We're 2 matches into the Atlanta United season in 2026, and the Five Stripes have not scored a goal yet. The bigger issue coming out of San Jose, it's not the finishing for me, it was the approach, especially early. In Maddie's version on the SDH network, Madison Cruz described a team that looked hesitant, they looked disconnected, especially in the first half. Looked like they were thinking instead of dictating, not being a protagonist. They were reacting instead of imposing. In the long view, which was published this morning, where I'll kind of take a deeper dive into the numbers and the quotes from the people involved, the numbers all backed it up. San Jose produced almost 3 expected goals to Atlanta's less than 1. 6 big chances to 2 is what jumped out to me, and those 2 big chances for Atlanta came later in the game. 10 shots inside the 18-yard box to 3 for Atlanta. Atlanta did have more possession in this match, over 500 completed passes, but most of it stayed deep. They circulated the ball, but they did not get it vertical in connecting things. They didn't use possession to destabilize the opponent. After the match, I had a chance to ask Tata Martino a couple questions, and he didn't start with tactics. He started with the posture. He said the first half was lamentable. Juan Bettercall called it a mentality issue. The duel numbers kind of support that as well. Atlanta won just 46% of the duels on the ground. Yeah, the second half was better. It had to be. The structure looked better. The fullbacks got higher. I thought Steven Alzate started to put his stamp on the match a little bit. He created a couple of chances in the second half. But here's the deal. Major League Soccer doesn't give you 45 minutes to find urgency. Now the question is simple. Does the intensity that we saw in the second half in San Jose, and even going back to game 1 in the first half in Cincinnati, can you combine those 2 halves and see it go up a notch at Mercedes-Benz Stadium as this homestand starts? This homestand, which already had, I think, a lot of importance just because of the way the schedule flows this year. It's unfortunate that you have a team trying to find itself with very important home games in March, but look, after 2 losses and no goals, that's the conversation. Do we see that intensity that we saw in 2 of 4 halves? Do we see that become the baseline at the Benz on Saturday? If yeah, then look, it's an early correction and you sort it out and you grow. If not, then the conversation shifts from refining things to the identity of the team and not the tactical identity, more of the character of the group. Big questions this week. It's a big week for Atlanta United. We'll be covering all of it as we go on the SDH network. Let's go to the U.S. Women's National Team. We'll go up the road to Nashville. The USWNT, they opened the 2026 SheBelieves Cup with a 2-0 win over Argentina. Lindsay Heaps scored in the 19th minute. 12 consecutive calendar years with at least 1 goal for the national team for Lindsay Heaps. 39 international goals in total. Jaden Shaw, she added the second goal in the 56th minute, her 10th international goal in just 32 caps. There could have been more. 2 goals were called back for offside. Claudia Dickey recorded her 7th clean sheet in 8 appearances. The starting 11 averaged just 24.5 caps. There were no uncapped players in this SheBelieves Cup roster, but it is still pretty young. And this balance of leadership and youth, look, that's the story under Emma Hayes right now as this World Cup cycle is full and underway with a World Cup next summer. Next up is Canada in Columbus in the midweek. Let's go to Orlando, and Orlando doesn't really want to talk about it after they talked a lot in the first 45. Inter Miami trailed Orlando City 2-0 at halftime. The Herons won 4-2. There were a lot of people with a lot of takes on all the social media platforms about Miami conceding 5 goals in the first game and a half, and it looks bad, and everybody talked them up, and what are we doing, and, all the usual hot takes and stuff. And then it's like Lionel Messi was scrolling X at halftime and said, "Oh, okay, let's show these folks." Talasco Segovia was also scrolling. He had a goal and 2 assists in the second half. Messi scored twice in the second half, including a stoppage time free kick to seal it, and he celebrated in front of the Orlando City supporters, which, as somebody who is, I guess, in the midst of a rivalry with Orlando City from day one, I kind of enjoyed it, not going to lie. Matteo Silvetti, he scored his first MLS goal to ignite the comeback, first MLS goal of the season. Javier Mascherano, he said it wasn't about tactics. It was heart, it was resilience, it was championship mentality. It was about tactics to a degree, though. Mascherano made some changes in the second half, very bold, very aggressive. It worked out. Give that man his flowers. There are a lot of people who still want to hold on to bad takes. I've said it many times. I will continue to say it. I wondered how it would go for Mascherano because it did not go great for him with the youth national team programs in Argentina. It has gone great for him in Miami. And you can say that you had questions and, yeah, you were wrong. You can say that. I wish more pundits would do that because the man won MLS Cup last year, and not purely because he had a lot of talent in his team. He had to make changes. He had to make tough decisions. He did. He did it again in this one. This is a good manager in Javier Mascherano. I think he's got the potential to be a great manager. He's just over a year into his club managerial career. You can say he's doing well, and you can say that he has surpassed expectations. It is okay to say that. It's okay to say that you were wrong as well at halftime when there were a lot of hot takes about Miami. Lionel Messi said, "No, we're not going to have this." What a free kick from him, by the way. That free kick. Go check out the angle that I shared on the newsletter edition of Morning Espresso from behind the goal. Just perfect placement. I mean, that's just what he does, right? All right, let's bounce around a little bit here, and let's talk about the global context of what's going on right now. I hate kind of getting into this. I don't enjoy it. None of us want to see this, but we have to talk about it. I mentioned it in our Kick Into Summer newsletter yesterday. You can go and subscribe to that one on soccerdownhere.net. It covers all the build-up to the World Cup. And look, we've got questions about this World Cup now because of the intersection between sport and war. We're here again. The widening conflict following U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran and subsequent retaliation across the region, it's already affecting the global sports calendar in tangible ways. Just understand the human and the geopolitical stakes are far more important than schedules and tournaments and games. But the reality is that the soccer world is now operating inside of this greater context. Iran's Football Federation president, Mehdi, he said that he does not know whether the national team can play its 2026 World Cup matches in the United States under current conditions. Iran is drawn into Group G. They're scheduled to play in L.A. and Seattle this summer. At the same time, Iranian fans were already impacted by earlier travel restrictions. FIFA has not yet issued a formal statement clarifying what participation would look like if tensions continue, and it's way too early for them to do that. The situation remains fluid, and it will be for a while. Uncertainty is now just part of this tournament build. The regional impact has been immediate. The Qatar Football Association postponed all domestic competitions until further notice. The Asian Football Confederation delayed multiple Champions League fixtures in the West region, along with matches in Champions League 2 and the AFC Challenge League. Airspace closures across Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Israel have disrupted travel. Doha and Dubai are key global transit hubs. Even high-profile events such as the planned Finalissima between Spain and Argentina in Doha, that's now in doubt. That is at the end of the month. That's in doubt right now. Beyond soccer, there's other international competitions that are adjusting as well. Basketball qualifiers in the region have been called off. EuroLeague basketball canceled a youth qualifying event in Abu Dhabi. Formula One teams have reportedly altered travel routes ahead of the season opener in Australia. The ripple effects extend well beyond just one sport or one confederation or one country. For those of us focused on this summer and what this game can do in bringing people together and just how important sport is, we're reminded that it's not the only important thing in moments like this. It's a reminder that the World Cup doesn't exist in isolation. Host cities, federations, governing bodies, they'll continue to monitor developments. It's way too early, and don't take the bait on yelling at FIFA to say something and make a decision. It's way too early for any of that. It's not time for assumptions or speculation about outcomes. It's not time to start going through rules and seeing what happens if Iran does not participate in the World Cup. It's way too early for all of that. It is time for careful attention for the context of the situation and just the acknowledgement that the game that we love so much, it moves within a global reality and sadly at times a very complicated and complex global reality that is getting more complicated by the day. All right, let's come back to the domestic side of things and let's talk about what's happening in MLS, the youth movement. New York Red Bulls, they are 2-0 under new head coach Michael Bradley, 1-0 win over New England. Julian Hall scored his third goal in this season. It was assisted by 16-year-old Adri Mehmeti and 17-year-old Matthew Dos Santos, 3 teenagers involved. Bradley said it became clear in preseason that Hall and Mehmeti needed to be on the field. Praised both their talent and their mentality. RSL, they got into the youth movement as well. 2-1 win over Seattle. 18-year-old Aiden Hezarkani, he scored his first career goal after combination play with Xavier Gozo and Luka Moisa. Gozo later set up Ariath Piol for the winner. Diego Luna coming back from injury. This result gives RSL some momentum as they come to Atlanta. Colorado, they got in on the youth movement as well. They rebounded from an opening loss with a 2-0 win over Portland, highlighted by 18-year-old center back Lucas Harrington. The Australian scored his first MLS goal, completed 96% of his passes. Zach Steffen, key saves for the Rapids as they steadied themselves early in the campaign. USL, the Players Association members voted to authorize their bargaining committee to issue a strike if a new collective bargaining agreement is not reached for the USL Championship. Roughly 90% of the player pool participated in the vote, and about 90% rejected the league's latest proposal. Key issues extend beyond salary to contract length, buyouts, healthcare, and housing as the 2026 season is scheduled to start on Friday. Major League Soccer, they are going to allow clubs to sell a lower back jersey sponsor beginning after the 2026 All-Star break. That creates a 4th commercial placement on kits. League officials view the move as part of MLS, they say 3.0. It might be 4 or 5.0 at this point, tied to revenue growth and the anticipated World Cup lift, with some markets potentially generating more than $1 million annually from this new asset on the jersey. It'll sit below the player number. And look, this is what happens in a lot of leagues around the world. It's part of the business of the game. If you want more spending on salaries, if you want more spending on amenities and stadiums and all these things, then you've got to make more money. And if this is a way to make another $1 million, then yes, that is good. I do want to see this put into the league's growth for sure. I mean, look, you own the team, you're putting money into it. There are owners who are still recouping. There's business to tend to. I understand that. But I do want this to be part of growth for the league. We'll see. Columbus, they are exploring NWSL expansion. It's a group led by the Haslam family who owns the Columbus Crew, owns the Cleveland Browns. They could be coming into the NWSL in 2028 alongside Atlanta. They would play at Scott's Miracle Grove Field where the Crew play. It's a leading contender for the team, the 18th team, to even things out with Atlanta joining in 2028 as well. Marco Reus, he has signed a contract extension through December of 2027. Keeps him in LA with the Galaxy. Since arriving in 2024, he has had 9 goals and 13 assists across all competitions and helped win that 6th MLS Cup in 2024. Galaxy have cited his leadership, his professionalism as central to that extension. SDH AM live this morning. The usual Monday crew is in. Abe Gordon from 92.9 The Game, Madison Cruz from SDH, obviously, and Bart Keeler of the Soccer for US podcast, all joining in the conversation about Atlanta United, U.S. Women's National Team, MLS, and just the global context right now shaping the game. Atlanta United 2 last night opened their 2026 campaign 1-1 draw against New England before falling 4-2 in the extra penalty shootout. Liam Butts, he played a central role in the opening goal, forced an own goal. Atlanta played really well in the first half. Cameron Dunbar and Liam Butts were very good. Jonathan Ransom was great all the way through. The 18-year-old goalkeeper anchored the performance, made a key near-post save just before halftime, had a great kick save in the second half. New England did find an equalizer. That sent it to the shootout, and New England took care of business. Academy debuts, or from the Academy, debuts for Shea Fakiesi, who I thought was very good in this match. David Eluvaber, U.S. Youth National Team pool midfielder. Club record 55th appearance for Aiden Torres. First ever starts for the entire back four and the front three for Atlanta United 2. They return home on Sunday to host the Carolina Core at the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens. We'll have coverage of that one on the SDH network. Couple of things from the refill quickly. IFAB, they have formally approved anti-time wasting rules that were first tested in MLS Next Pro and MLS. Mandatory off-field treatment with a 1-minute delay. Timed substitution rule that can leave teams down a player for 60 seconds. Referees will also implement 5-second countdowns on delayed throw-ins and goal kicks. VAR's scope has been extended to include second yellow cards and corner kicks. These will all start with the 2026 World Cup. There's talk as well from IFAB about developing measures to punish players who cover their mouths while confronting opponents. This has been accelerated by what happened with Gianluca Prestiani and Vinicius Jr. in the Champions League. It's complex, and yeah, it's going to be tough to really create a law in the rules of the game about this, but it is part of the broader efforts to increase transparency and accountability during these on-field disputes. Tottenham, very poor yesterday, 2-1 loss at Fulham. Igor Tudor, there's already talk about Tottenham moving on from him. He just got there. I don't even know if he's unpacked his bag yet. He cited deficiencies in the defense, in the midfield, and in the attack. Yes, pretty much the whole team. That's a problem. They are above the relegation zone for now, 4 points, but they are trending in the wrong direction. Arne Slot, really interesting thing from him. He said that most Premier League games are no longer a joy to watch due to the heavy emphasis on set pieces. More than a quarter of league goals this season have come from non-penalty dead ball situations. Arsenal and Liverpool, funny enough, they are among the most prolific in this. He called it the league's new reality. The Arsenal-Chelsea match yesterday wasn't the best to watch, not going to lie. And it's not just because you're scoring goals from set pieces. It's just the game is becoming in the Premier League more about not making mistakes than trying to win. Arsenal's the best team in Europe right now, but they've done that by being a little more ruthless, great defensively and great on set pieces and limiting risk. I love when things tilt the other way and teams do risk more, especially with the ball. That's what I love, but you have to talk about the effectiveness of what Arsenal's doing as well. It's always a balance between the aesthetic and between the functional. It's always a balance in those areas. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Morning Espresso. We've got urgency here in Atlanta. We've got momentum for the U.S. Women's National Team in Nashville. Magic last night from Lionel Messi in Orlando. The youth movement across MLS is exciting. The game keeps on moving, and yeah, we have to follow what's going on this global landscape now that will continue to evolve every day between now and the World Cup this summer. Enjoy SDH AM. If you miss it live, you can always catch it on demand on YouTube and on Twitch, and a podcast edition as well. You can always check all of that out at soccerdownhere.net, clicking watch at the top of the screen or listen at the top of the screen, depending on what you're looking for. That's the Morning Espresso for Monday. Soccer over there tonight at 8 o'clock as well. John Nelson will take you through that. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning for another cup of Morning Espresso.